समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. So today we start with verse 26, and I'll read the verse. कामक्रोधवियुक्तानां यतीनां यतचेतसाम् अभितो ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं वर्तते विदितात्मनाम्. It says, absolute freedom or Brahmic bliss exists on all sides for those self-controlled ascetics who are free from desire and anger and who have controlled their thoughts and who have realized the self. Look, he says, absolute freedom and bliss exists on all sides for the self-controlled. Now, notice that, even last time they had used the word Brahma Nirvana. Okay, so this verse again, Nirvana means. Okay, now you take it as agitation free mind, totally still mind, totally agitation free mind, and that you can call as Brahma Nirvana. So only if you get Brahma Nirvana Sukha. So, Abhit means on all sides, from everywhere, anywhere, or whatever, meaning whatever he does, wherever he goes, this happiness does not leave him. This bliss does not leave him. It is always going to be there. But what is the condition? See, the condition for achieving it, the method for achieving it is given out. He says desire and anger have to be won over, have to be controlled. Now, that's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. Just imagine that free from desire and anger. See, the only thing that whips you into activity, feverish activity, is desire. Right? And anger, uska bhai hai. Anger will always be there, because if you do not get your desire, if there is a hurdle in your desire, there is a kind of a blockage in your desire, the desire turns into anger. So it has the exact amount of aggressiveness as desire has. And these are the only two shackles that bind you in life, or they tie you down to sorrow. That is why even Buddha says that you get free of desire and you are in bliss, right? Now, the purer the mind, the lesser the desire and anger. Now, if you say that this is the method, that to purify the mind. Now, if you have to purify the mind, then what is the method of purifying the mind? The method given is, a practical method given is Jana Seva, Lok Seva, or Jana Seva is the practical method. Now, Jana Seva does not necessarily just mean that you have to join some institute where you can go and do some social work. It's not like that. You can do it anywhere. आपके neighbors हैं, you have a little group of houses where you live. There must be people who want help. There must be old people. There must be people who are helpless in some way or the other, or even people who come to work around your house or in your house. They need help. So all that is Jan Seva. Anybody who needs anything, you get to know that this person is helpless. So that is janaseva. But you can achieve purity of mind by janaseva, sure, because it is a selfless act, and you are constantly physically and mentally occupied with helping someone. So naturally the mind is at rest. It is a self congratulatory act, which you call punya. ठीक है ना? So any punya translates as peace in your own mind. So when you do punya, understand you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your peace of mind, you're doing it for your happiness, right? So here it is. But then usme there is one danger. There is one danger. See, when you go out and contact other people, when you contact other people to help them, whether you are helping them to settle down mentally, you are removing some sorrow or some mental agitation, or you are helping them physically, the danger point is this, that you yourself get contaminated. Carefully, all those who are doing social work, please listen to this carefully. When you go out into the field to do social work, you have to really sanitize your mind. You have to sanitize your mind from getting contaminated by those people's thoughts and agitations. Generally, what happens is that when you hear the sorrows of other people, your mind gets affected. And your mind gets affected in what way? You are constantly thinking of their sorrow. You constantly, go on imagining how sorry, how sad, how bad it is, how much they are suffering. Then you come home and relate it to your family, right? तो आप उसका जप कर रहे हैं, by repeating the same sorrow, आप उसका जप कर रहे हैं. And when you are repeating it, you are also hearing it, right? So it compounds, listening and speaking compounds into making lines in your mind, and those lines in your mind do not go. You have to help your mind not to repeat those patterns that you have gone and seen. Somebody suffering you have seen, somebody suffering you have heard, and it makes a dent in your mind, right? So then sanitize your mind, because when you are entering the mental and physical slums of suffering, other people suffering, mental suffering, are the slums. So when you enter these mental and physical slums, you have to sanitize yourself. You have to wear a mask in your mind. You have to protect yourself from getting contaminated. Generally, I have noticed that people who do social work, they come back very agitated. And those agitations remain in their mind, and they go on repeating them to people, and they go on reminiscing them in their minds. The mind has got a habit, and that habit is repetition. So, whatever you see and hear, the mind will repeat. And that is very, very important to safeguard the mind. You have to fortify your mind against these kind of disturbances. It's very, very important. I have not once, but many times known sadhaks who go for social work, even in our mission. People used to go to do social work over there, clean, sweep, do this work, work in the bookshop, here, there. But while doing it, they used to either get ego hassles or they used to suffer mental trauma. And then the first thing that gets the hit is your sadhana. If your mind is agitated, if you have collected impurity into your mind, how do you do sadhana? You cannot do sadhana at all. So, the mind of a new sadhak or a younger sadhak who has just started doing sadhana is very, very vulnerable. It is like the mind of a child. You have to guard the mind from any kind of pollutant. It's very important. You know, the hygiene of the mind, as I call it, is very important. How much care you take of your kitchen cleanliness, the fruits and vegetables that you bring into the house, how nicely you clean them. You insist that the person making your food has a bath, his hands are clean, this or that, his thoughts are clean. आप वो खाने का भोग लगाते हैं before it comes to the table, and all those things you do because you care for the nutrition and the hygiene of the food gross which goes into your gross body. Have you ever thought of the food of the mind? You do not at all care. You listen to any gossip you like. The TV throws murder at you, it throws rape at you, it throws thieving at you, it throws corruption at you, and you are constantly watching. You are constantly watching those things, and those things, you know, वो आपके मन में घर कर जाते हैं. They stay in your mind. You will notice that how many times scenes from the TV, talk from the TV keeps repeating into your mind. So haven't you polluted your mind? Where is the sanitization of the mind? Where is the purity of the mind gone? Huh? So it is like a child who jumps into a muddy pond to have a bath. But since the water was not clean, when he comes out of the bath, he is muddier than he was when he went in. तो आपका क्या हुआ? When you went for social work, right? When you went for social work, you went with a clean mind, pure mind. And you thought by doing social work, because the Gita has advised, Jana Seva, Lok Seva, selfless work, that is the yagna you must perform with your body and mind, and that will purify your mind and help you to overcome desire and anger, right? This is the method it's advocating. But that method has to be done very, very carefully. Every one of us suffers from thought persecution. I can call it that. Thought persecution is how you interpret a certain happening or you interpret somebody's speech. Somebody said something to you and your ego got bruised. Bas ho gaya, isn't it? And thereafter, for days on end, your sleep is gone. You can't properly, all the time you think of him, of that, usne ye kaha, usne ye kaha, and that speech is like a barn, like an arrow, it hits you. So you cannot peacefully sleep, you cannot peacefully live. So you have to learn to how block your mind again. You know, आजकल के ये जो आपके कंप्यूटर्स होते हैं, लैपटॉप्स होते हैं, और इवन योर सेल फोन, इनमें सब में एक डिलीट का बटन होता है ना? हाँ. So all the past, every single day, what happened yesterday, just press the delete. Don't harbor people's speeches, people's actions. Somebody was unfair to you, somebody was rude to you, somebody, just, it is like taking a mental bath. It's very, very important. You take a mental bath to totally purify your mind. Just like you cleanse your body every day, that mental bath is very important. The delete button, remember, that is the soap with which you clean the mind and the thoughts of the mind. So, now the purity of the mind, the Brahman Nirvana comes, and there are two things: purity of the mind and no doership while you are doing social work. These two things, remember, while doing social work. I have dealt at length with the purity, how to guard your purity of the mind. And secondly, remember that you are not the one who's doing. The Lord is working through you for the benefit of so many other people. That is seva. Please understand. Even people who teach, like I am teaching, I know for sure that these are not my capabilities. The Lord is playing through me to reach those who want to hear the Gita and he is using my mind, my intellect, my body, my speech to reach those people. I cannot do anything about it. Okay, so that will slowly make you come to moksha or nirvana. Now, the verse 27 and 28 has to be done together. It's also written together, so we will read them. These, now the last three verses we'll be doing of this chapter. All these last three verses are a trailer of the film to come, the trailer of chapter 6. Okay, so now here we go. Let us read 26 and 27. Sparshan kritva bahirbahyam चक्षुन् चैवन्तरे भ्रुवो प्राणोपानौ समौ कृत्वा नासभ्यन्तरकारिणौ चारिणौ. Again, I'll read it. स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बाह्यान् चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवोः प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ. See, this line, almost the same line comes in chapter 6 as well. Pranapana samakritva. And the next verse is Yatendriya mano buddhi munirmokshaparayanah vigatecha bhaya krodho yah sada mukta eva saha. Now reading the translation of both the verses. Shutting out all external contacts and fixing the gaze as though between the eyebrows, equalizing the outgoing, going, and the incoming breaths, moving within the nostrils, and with senses, mind, and intellect ever controlled, having liberation as his supreme goal, free from desire, fear, and anger. The sage is verily liberated forever. Very big promise. Very, very big promise. Look at what you are going to gain. Look what the Gita is promising. In fact, the Lord Himself is promising, because He is the one uh, who is speaking. Here, desire, fear, and anger. First, there was what? Desire and anger. Now, fear has also been added into it, because for the simple reason that fear is part of desire. देखो, whenever you have anything that you desire, मान लीजिए आपको मिल जाता है, whatever you desiring, you get that. Don't you constantly fear that, oh, if I lose it, what will happen? If I lose it, what will happen? You know, the security that you have today, your family security, you have a home, you have a car, you have this, you have that, all that security. But that security, always there is a little fear in your mind. If tomorrow something happens and any one of these things is missing, won't I be miserable? Any member of your family may be missing, quite likely, especially in COVID. Huh? Then that fear, because your desire is that everything that you have already should remain the same. So desire, even before you get it, and even after you get it, and when it leaves you also, all three are painful. देखो गुरुदेव एग्जाम्पल देते थे राधा का. Interesting example. He used to say that when Krishna has not come and she is pining for Krishna, desire, then also she is miserable. He hasn't come, he hasn't come, he hasn't come. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, he hasn't come. When will he come? That is painful. When Krishna does come, then again Radha is miserable. If you read things like Geet Govind, then there are those verses which Radha goes on saying, "Oh, but you will go away. Oh, but this is so short lived. Oh, but you will go away." So fear of losing him. And then when he is gone, तब तो है ही है. तब तो again the sorrow. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's gone. When will he come? So again the same thing starts. So understand that any desire, don't think that if you fulfill your desire, you will be very happy for a fraction of time. A little peace in your soul for a fraction before your mind has jumped onto another desire. So it's not, so these three, desire, fear, and anger, and they are all three connected as we have done before also. Now come to this verse. Okay, now see the what is the method? वो कहते तो हैं कि get rid of desire, get rid of anger, and one method advised to the early seeker is Jana Seva, Lok Seva. What do you do with your mind? This you do physically, right? With a mental conditioning, as I have just explained. Then you minimize thoughts and maximize their quality, maximize the good quality. This is what you do with your mind. To achieve desirelessness, you have to minimize the thoughts and maximize the good quality of thoughts. See, when the mind can only revel in the fields of the heard and the spoken and the seen. Heard and spoken is the same thing, and what you have seen. So the eye and the ear, that the Wordsworth calls the mighty world of eye and ear. That mighty world of eye and ear is the one that affects you and generates desires in you. Think about it. Something you have seen can generate a desire. Something you have heard about. Oh, that is very good. You haven't tried it. My God, everyone is trying it and everyone is appreciating it. Somebody says this to you. And what do? Give me the phone number. Give me the site. I like to log on. I like to order that because everyone is having it. Not that you had a desire. This is an acquired desire. Notice, So there are some desires that you are born with. वो उतने वो नहीं होते हैं. They are not that many. But the acquired desires are too many. Something you have seen and you also want to buy it or you want to get it. Something you have heard and you also want to get it. So these two fields you have to narrow down. You have to narrow down the fields of the mind. Don't just go anywhere, hear anything, hear any gossip, कुछ भी टीवी पे देख रहे हैं or seeing any program on the TV. Choose wisely. Choose very, very wisely what you put into the mind. Because the mind thoughts are generated by objects seen or heard. So control the area or the field of the mind, and if you control the wanderings of the mind and what you put into it, the thoughts will narrow down. Then by reading the scriptures, hearing satsang, or reading ennobling books, your mind gets purified, uplifted. So you are maximizing noble thoughts in your mind. If you go on seeing violent films, or you go on seeing films where one murdered the other, or one shot the other, or kidnapping and robbing and looting and all, if you see those films, well, your mind will become that, because that is the food you are giving to the mind. I never tire of repeating this, because people see things mindlessly. They go on, अच्छा आप देख रहे हैं सीरिया में वॉर हो रहा है, you're seeing how people are dying, how people are screaming, how people are crying. because the TV loves to show all that. They sensationalize other people's grief. They'll show you people that are wounded, they'll show you people that are dying, they'll show you people crying, they'll show you orphans, they'll show you widows. अभी वो कहाँ हैं, दुनिया के किस कोने में हैं? Weren't they there before? They were always there. But your field of the mind was limited. Now you have spread out your mind to touch the sorrow of every human being in any part of the world. And that is coming into your house, into your drawing room. Murder kahin hua, the blood is spilling in your drawing room. Won't it affect your mind? It will affect your mind. So you have to narrow down the fields of attention. Also, understand why I'm saying fields of attention is that you see a lot of things, but you don't pay attention. So they do not register in your mind. But anything that you give attention to, आप ध्यान से सुनते हैं, ध्यान से देखते हैं, you focus your mind on it. So that attention is very important. If you master attention, you want to master attention, then the quality and the quantity of what is incoming and outgoing from your mind is very important. Very, very important. So here, then he says what? The next thing that he says is prana pano samo kritva nasabhyantar charino. Okay. Now, don't think that it doesn't happen. It can happen. Breath. Prana pana samo kritva. देखिए, prana, the breath that you draw in. Apana, the breath that you throw out. These two have to be controlled. These two have to be softened. Nobody is asking you to stop breathing, okay? But also understand it is a biological fact that there is a connection between the mind and the breath. When the mind is calm, the breath is calm. Have you seen a child sleeping? How calm, peaceful is his breathing? For that matter, anybody who is deeply sleeping and is in peace, his mental thoughts are calm. His breathing will be easy and soft and long. Somebody who is agitated, angry, how short his breath becomes. The breath is not long and steady. So, breath has a connection, and it is very intimately connected with your physical activity and mental activity as well. You see, after a long run, what your breathing is, because your body and mind has been worked up. Now, so, अच्छा, then ये करें तो आप, पर आप कैसे करेंगे इसको? देखो, when you are trying to concentrate on any one thing, it may not be meditation. I'm not talking of meditation here. I'm talking of any one thing that you are doing, any activity. If you're doing it with a lot of carefulness, have you noticed your breath? If you're concentrating on any creative painting, a painter, a writer, or you are cooking something very carefully, or you're doing something, you're trying to learn a mathematical equation, have you noticed your breath? It moves only within your nostrils. It is a very, very soft breath. The moment the mind concentrates, the breath becomes soft. And that is why he says, see, prana pano samakritva. Some. Equalize the breath. Equalize the breathing. Usko sum kar लीजिए. Prana pana samo kritva. And that is the thing. And how you do it? He also says, देखो नासाभ्यंतर चारणो. It should move only within the nostrils. The breath should move only within the nostrils. Dekho, even in very deep meditation, if you have done it sometimes, the breath becomes like that. It becomes so, so soft that if you put a mirror here, the vapor of the breath does not cloud the mirror. The breathing becomes that. It happens. Believe me, it does. That happens. Many times, what happens is that the breath almost stops. Almost stops. If you're in deep meditation, the breath is held. You feel it is held, but it's very, 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 very. And when you come out of that meditation, you suddenly you breathe because your mind was so, so peaceful that the breathing became almost nil. तो ये होता है, and this is possible. Don't think it is not possible. It is directly connected to the mind. So prana panau samo kritva nasabhyantara chareno. So now external contacts I have already done with you. What he says, the sparshan kritva, bahar ke jo acts hain, don't allow your body too much activity, don't allow your mind to run too much idhar udhar, because when you do that, it is bound to create agitations in your mind. When agitations are created in your mind, your breathing will also never be controlled over here. Now the next verse says, with senses, mind and intellect controlled, having liberation. As so look, the previous verse also says another thing. It says chakshush chevantare bhruvo. He says that looking up here in the middle of the eyebrows, concentrate. Now don't take it too literally. Don't take this thing too literally. Dekho, when you close your eyes and you concentrate here, after closing the eyes, not opening the eyes, when you close your eyes and concentrate over here, this is 45 degrees from your spine. It is considered a seat of the divine. And you concentrate over there, that means you are lifting your mind upwards. It is not opening the eyes and looking like this, because you will get a headache, nothing else. You close your eyes and look here. This will help you to focus your mind unidirectionally. It is a direction you are giving to the mind to uplift itself into nobler thoughts. That is what it is saying. Ki concentrate here after closing your eyes, because that will lift your mind. Dekho, even when you are praying, have you seen people praying? They always lift their hands above. They look up. Nobody looks down while praying. They look up. When you go to a temple or you go to a church or you go anywhere, the altar is always on a pedestal. Have you noticed? It is a little higher than your eyes. Little higher than your eyes. Which is this? So you look up to the Lord. You don't look down to the Lord. तो जब वो ये कहते हैं कि concentrate here, it is an uplifting of the mind that they are talking about, right? And it does happen, and it helps you to minus the ego time. Okay. Acha. Now then, in the next verse, Krishna advises you, and he advises you to lift your attention from desire, fear, and anger. Now I told you that they are all connected. All connected. I gave you the example of Radha. Now I'll give you another example. I have given this example before in some talk, but this is Gurudev's example, and it very clearly explains the connection between these three. Your son has gone out at night for a party. Very familiar. All youngsters are doing this. रात को घूमते, हाँ, दिन को सोते. This is what is called निशाचर. जो निशा में विचरण करते हैं वो निशाचर. So you know all the animals that come out at night, they come out to prey upon others. All the thieves come out at night, burglars come out at night, murderers come out at night. You know all those. So it is that. So khair, anyway, wo chodo aap. The thing is, the son, youngsters these days are all going out at night. Now the sun has gone out. Young son has gone out at night. The father and mother are very worried. बहुत रात हो गई है. There is no phone that has come. He has not informed us where he went. We don't know anything. We don't know when he's coming. Now the mother still goes to sleep. The father is pacing up and down, up and down, up and down. Now the desire that he should be back, right? उससे connected क्या होता है? Fear, isn't it? Accident ना हो गया हो. You never know. आजकल all kind of things happen. Maybe police people have caught him. कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं somebody mixed drugs in his drink and then he's knocked out. How do we know where he is? What? So all those fears start coming into your mind, connected with your desire that he should be back safely. Okay. Now then the third thing. The son comes back late. Okay. So this is Gurudev's example. I'll give it to you in his words. The son has come back on a bicycle. Now that cycle, he doesn't want to lift the latch of the gate to get the cycle in. So he lifts the cycle and slowly puts it across the gate inside the house. That he is able to achieve. But then he has to go into the house. So he slowly lifts the latch of the gate and he slowly goes in. He's gone in. But while connecting it back, suddenly it goes cut. And when that happens, the anger of the father. आ गया वापस. Okay, come here. Where were you? So late. Do you realize what the time is? You haven't even informed us where you went. You don't know when. We don't know when you will be coming. Have you had your dinner? This, that. All the anger comes onto the son. You see the connection? Desire, fear, and anger. So all these three are connected, and all these three bring and ruin your inner poise. That is what they all do. And so you have to be very, very careful about these disturbances. Now he says another thing. He says that if you can control these three, then you will attain freedom forever. Oh wow. And what will you attain? You will be liberated forever, he says. The sage is liberated forever. देखो ये तीन पहले खत्म, win over तो करो. It's not easy. It's not easy at all that you can win over these three. But when you do win over all these three, then it is. Now you see, when he says this, he is talking about a thing that will happen in future. He is not talking about a thing that has already happened. You have to labor for it. You have to work up for it. And only then can it happen. When you have done meditation for long and achieved a certain poise and peace in your mind, only then can this happen. And also when he says that the sage is verily liberated forever, he is liberated forever, it is like using, like you say, I am baking bread. Gurudev's example, I am baking bread. You can't bake bread. You will immediately say, if you take it literally, you will say you can't bake bread. You can bake wheat flour, mixed with water, salt, sugar, whatever you put in it. That you can bake, but you can't bake bread. But we all say we are baking bread because that will be the end result. So when he says here that you will be liberated forever, that is the end result of what is going to happen if you can meditate for long and capably achieve it. Hmm? Now, then the question comes, on what does one meditate? On what does one meditate? Now we come to the last verse, that is the verse 29. भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिमृच्छति. It says, knowing me as enjoyer of sacrifices and austerities, the great Lord of all the worlds, the friend of all beings, he attains peace. This is the promise. This is the assurance that if you can attain this, then if you can act like this, then you will attain peace. Peace is equal to happiness. They are the same thing. When you are peaceful, you are happy. There can be no happiness, true happiness, without peace in your mind. Shanti आपके मन में. So it cannot be. So he says, knowing me as the enjoyer and sacrifice. He is using the first person singular, me. That is Krishna, the supreme being, not the shepherd boy of Vrindavan, but the supreme being. When he talks, anytime in the Gita, when he says I or me, understand that he is talking of the supreme being. So he says that he is giving you 3 tips, because the question was, on what does one meditate? आप कहते तो हैं मेडिटेट करो, किस पे करें? Now, किस पे करें? Number 1 is the idol, the murti or the picture of a lord or whatever you want to meditate on. So any one gross, something tangible which you can see, which you can touch, जिस पे आप फूल चढ़ा सकते हैं, आप अपनी श्रद्धा बता सकते हैं. That is what is where you first concentrate. Now, the tip that Gurudev gave to me of concentrating was that you keep looking at the murti of the Ishta. First, look at it from top to bottom, then again lift your gaze from bottom to the top. Then slowly look at all his limbs, and slowly come to just one thing, either his smile or his eyes or his feet, and concentrate only on that for some time. Then slowly close your eyes. You will notice that whatever you have seen the last remains as a picture in your mind. So you have narrowed down your vision, you have narrowed down your focus to a point. Okay? So that is one very important tip. Now, once you have done that, then you have to emote to the Lord. That is much easier for people to do than the gyan of him as a formless being and all that. That comes to later sadhaks. To initial sadhaks like you and me, it is easy for us to emote to the Lord. It's a personal God. You call him father, treat him as a Bal Gopal, as a son. If you have motherly instinct, you treat him as a brother, you treat him as a father, anything. Then you connect to him like that, and that is, and understand that whatever you are offering to him, he is the one to whom you are offering. See, you are offering, क्या क्या, ये देखो यहीं कह रहे हैं ना, ही इज द भोक्तारम ऑफ यज्ञ एंड तपस। आपकी जो दोनों चीजें हैं, यज्ञ मीन्स ऑल योर एफर्ट्स in any direction, all your efforts in any direction to help people, to contribute to society, or gain something, all those surrender to him. That is yajna. Tapasa. Tapasa is concentrated effort in which you even suffer. You suffer, you have to put in all your work, your force. वो उसको तपस कहते हैं. देखिए, even to listen to a satsang, when you drive through traffic and go all the distance to listen to some great speaker, that is the tapas you have done. And then you leave all the family, your work, your everything, and you go there and you sit there for that much of time. That is tapas. So what, that tapas, who is the taker of that tapas? You are offering that tapas to the Lord. Because what are you getting? You are getting peace and happiness. So he is the one who is the enjoyer of your tapas. Hmm? Recognition and control of your ego is tapas. It is very difficult to even recognize that it is my ego because of which I am suffering. You very easily say, he hurt me. He hurt me. He said something so nasty to me. What has he hurt? He didn't shoot a bullet at you. Huh? He has hurt your ego. Henna? You think you are very intelligent, and he tells you you are the biggest fool going. What has been hurt? And you feel very sorry about it. You feel shaken. What is it? Hurt your ego. Ego is a bundle of thoughts that you thought about your individuality, which has got bruised, which has got hurt. Hmm? So that, but surrender your tapas to him, surrender all your efforts to him to reach him. And the most beautiful thing he says is, he says that I am Lokamaheshwara. Lokamaheshwara, I am the Lord of Lords. There is no one more powerful than me. There is no one more powerful than me. So he calls himself Maheshwara, Maha Ishwar, the great creator. Ishwar here is the creator who has created this world for you, who has created this body for you. When the Lord acts as a creator, then he is called Ishwara. So he calls himself Maha Ishvara, the illuminator of all your activities. Because because you can work, because of whom your eyes can see, because of whom your mouth can speak. Close your eyes and offer all your actions to the one who has made those actions possible. Okay. Hmm. So making all the functions possible, and the he makes all the three. देखो सर्व लोक. He says, ये देखो सर्व लोक maheshwara, that he is not only in this little world of yours, he is into your loka. Your loka means your world. A doctor's world, an engineer's world, an artist's world, a housewife's world, a businessman's world. He makes all those activities possible for you. So he is Sarva Loka Maheshwara. And one thing very beautiful what he says is, he is Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. Look at this. Suhridam. Suhridam means the greatest pal. Look at this beautiful. He is your greatest pal. Always wanting, always with you, always warning you of any calamity or danger. And whatever you want, he helps you get it. Hmm? And he is constantly with you, all the time with you. And he tells you the best way to achieve what you would like to achieve. Even if you want to murder, he helps you and gives you the energy to murder. He gives you the intelligence to murder. So, whatever is your world, whatever is your field of activity, he is the biggest person who helps you. He is a king of kings, and yet your closest pal. Imagine, to even reach the prime minister, we all know, is a huge effort. He will not give you even 1 minute of time. He will not. He cannot. So powerful, so mighty. We all know, even to reach a joint secretary in a ministry on phone, his PA will tell you he is not available. You can ring up 10 times. You will get the same answer. He is not available, sir. He is in a meeting. I'll let him know you called. Please leave your phone number. Right? But here is the King of Kings. Here is the Lord of Lords. Here is the highest power in the universe. And he's your pal. Kya baat? He is calling himself Suhradam. Suhradam, and not just yours, Sarva Bhutana. He is the friend to everybody. And he is the one who will help you attain Shanti. If you surrender to him, if you take his help and you say, I can't do anything, help me, O Lord, help me to reach you, then you will reach Shanti Mrichati. That is his promise, that when you reach him, you will reach happiness that lasts forever and ever. All you have to do is to surrender your ego and your activities at his feet. So, that much. With that, we finished the fifth chapter, and let us do the Sankalpavakya. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishasthu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nam Panchamodyayah. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः हरि ओम् पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम्